name is Jamie Roberts, and I am the Veterans Academic Advisor here at EKU. And on behalf of the Office of Military and Veteran Affairs and EKU Libraries, we thank you so much for being here tonight. This is the third Speaking from the Margins event that the EKU Library has hosted. And this semester, they have chosen to highlight our student veterans and give them an opportunity to share their military and their college experiences. So our EKU Vice President, Dr. Jean Palka, has graciously volunteered to moderate tonight's discussion. Dr. Palka is a graduate of the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, 1978, very good year. He later earned a master's degree from Ohio University and a PhD from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. He served in the U.S. Army for more than 33 years as a commissioned officer, and prior to arriving at EKU, he spent the last 13 years of his career at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. During his tenure at West Point, he was also deployed to both Afghanistan and Iraq in 2009. Dr. Palka currently serves as our Vice President for Student Success here at EKU. An accomplished professor, researcher, and author, Dr. Palka has served as a research colleague and distinguished lecturer for the Defense Intelligence Agency in Washington, D.C., and for the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency in St. Louis. He has generated more than 75 publications, including multiple books, instructor's manuals, and articles on various topics. Dr. Palka and his lovely wife, Cindy, live here in Richmond, and they've been married for 40 years. They are the proud parents of their son, Gene, who is currently serving as a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army, and their daughter, Holly, who formerly served as a captain and an Army nurse. They also have 7 beautiful grandchildren. So please join me in welcoming our moderator for tonight's discussion, Dr. Jean Palka.
Well, first, I'd like to say, before I take one step further, thank you to EKU Libraries, thank you to the Knowles Studio, thank you to the Office of Military and Veterans Affairs for sponsoring this event. A special thanks to Krista Rodas, who's in the back, who was an integral part of planning and coordinating and hosting this event, and to Jamie and the OMVA office as well. This is all about the veterans, the student veterans seated up here. And I thought the best thing to do is to just start out by asking them each to introduce themselves. And I'm going to ask for their name, for their hometown, what year they are in, and their degree, program, or major. So we'll start with you, Zach.
Hello everyone, my name is Zachary Dolick, but I like to go by Zach. I'm from Cherry Fork, Ohio. It's a very small town, you've never heard of it. I'm a junior here at EKU, and I am in the Occupational Safety Program.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Porras. I'm originally from Visalia, California. I'm in my junior year here at EKU, and I'm trying to get my BS in right now.
My name is Tom Lane. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I'm a senior here, and I am a paramedic and fire safety major.
My name is Tony Hoskins. I'm from Frankfort, Indiana. Real fancy place. I'm a senior currently in the Aviation Pro Flight Program here at EKU.
Fantastic. Okay, so now we have 2 Army, 1 Air Force, and 1 Marine. And so the first question is one that I think will help you to get to know them a little bit more. I'm going to ask each of you, and this time we'll start with Tony. Tell us a little bit about your military background and what brought you to EKU.
So I joined the Air Force in '92. I spent 20 years and 33 days in the military. I wasn't counting, but that's what we came up with. I was Navy Onyx mechanic. I repaired aircraft, all the radios and navigation systems on planes. I did that for my whole career. So worked in different areas as far as management as I got further along in the military. And then the rest of the question, was that it?
What brought you to EKU?
So, what brought me to EKU? I'm from Indiana. I served all over the place. Hawaii, California, Arkansas. We don't talk about Arkansas much, but no, the reason why I came here was actually, I was looking for something in aviation that I could learn to fly planes. And my family is, my dad's side of the family is from Kentucky. My mom's side of the family is from Indiana, so it's just kind of seemed like a good fit to come here. So I think that's what's one of the unique things about being in the military is you want to settle someplace, but you just don't just fit right in. So you have to find something that works for you when you get in.
Good, thanks, Tony. Tyler?
I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years. I did 3 years as a field artillery crewman, so big cannons, shot explosives really far away. And I did that for 3 years, and then for the last year I was a section chief, so I was the one that was in charge of the gun and the crew and everything like that. I got out. I came to EKU for a multitude of reasons. I'm from Louisville. It's only like 2 hours away, so it's close enough to home. I originally came here as a nursing major, and really there's top-notch nursing program and everything like that. And then my now fiance was already attending here, and so it seemed to be the place I could go where I at least had somebody that I knew. So I came down here. I've since switched my major to paramedicine, which EKU's got one of the only places that you can go and get a 4-year paramedic degree. So I came here to get something along those lines, and it just seemed to fit checked all the boxes that I needed to check. So.
Good. Thanks, Tyler. Stephanie?
We came here because we were stationed at Fort Knox. My husband and I were both military. We were both in the Army. And so we got stationed at Fort Knox, and then he got IED'd in Iraq. So he was actively going through a medical retirement. So we needed to be close to a VA hospital, and so we decided that we didn't want to live in Lexington because it was too busy, so we decided to go to Richmond, or come to Richmond, and so that's what put us here with, we've been here now for almost, well, just now over a year. And the only reason, well, the reason I chose to come to EKU was because I was told that they had one of the best programs for forensic pathologist, which was what I was pursuing before I decided to go nursing. And so that brought me here, and my husband is now attending UK. So the main reason for coming to EKU was for the forensic pathology program that they had here.
Good. Thanks, Stephanie. Zach?
I joined the Army in 2012, spending roughly 5.5 years in the Army. Kind of like Tony and Tyler and Stephanie, of course, served in a variety of different locations and different roles. Went to Afghanistan twice. I was a human intelligence collector, and then I was actually a human intelligence collector team sergeant. So I got to drive around Kabul, wear civilian clothes, my own car, be found money, kind of just drive around. It was kind of fun towards the end. And then I actually had a few friends that went to EKU from high school, and they said, it's a great school. They also were in the safety program, and very veteran friendly. Well, then when I came down and talked to Jamie, Cindy, and Deborah, I was pretty much sold on the place. I like it's not too big here. It's close enough to home because I didn't want to be exactly right at home, but it's close enough to home to where I could drive back on the weekend.
Good deal. Thanks, Zach. I'm going to add my own 2 cents to that. After moving 15 times, Cindy and I had a chance to choose where we wanted to live. And we had been stationed 6 years at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and 3 years at Fort Knox, Kentucky. And during that time, we came to know the Richmond, Lexington area well. And we just fell in love with Kentucky and felt that this was the place to buy our first house. And we actually did that after already being married for 34 years. But we loved DKU, we loved Richmond and the greater Richmond area, and that's what brought us here. So now, the tough questions. Okay, and in this first question, Zach, I'm going to start with you this time, and we'll work the opposite direction. I wrestled with this myself. Do you want your classmates and professors to know you served in the military? Why or why not?
I think this is a situation where I'm kind of indifferent. It kind of depends on the situation. It's kind of hard to say, like, expecting someone to know that you're in the military, maybe just based off your interaction, because, you know, when we were in, it was kind of easily noticeable. Haircut, mannerisms, the way we dressed, the way we spoke, and then coming to this environment, it's different. So I can't really give you a solid answer for that, other than the fact that every situation is different. It kind of depends, just based on what's going on at the time.
Okay. Stephanie, what do you think?
So I also agree with what he said. I really don't really care that my classmates know. I don't feel like it's important, I guess, for them to know that I am, but I do feel like my professors should probably know, because of the fact that I'm not originally from here and my family's all in California. So in case something were to happen and during the course of that semester that I'm taking classes from them, that they know that if I need to leave an emergency that, you know, I need to go.
Okay. Tyler?
I thought it was a little bit more important during my first year or so here. I was taking a lot of like gen ed classes and everything like that, and I've always struggled in like English, and then I'd been out of an English class for 4 years at a time. So I kind of let my professors know that it's something that I struggle with, so that I could try and get some either additional assistance, or they can kind of give me more critique on a paper, because there's one thing that I always struggled with. Math I was better at, but I was out of practice. Anything outside of simple addition or subtraction I hadn't done in a long time. So I had to kind of let them know that my scores and everything like that to get into EKU kept me from having to do anything remedial, but I still didn't think I was quite at the level that I needed to be at. So I kind of let them know where I was coming from, that if I did poorly, it wasn't due to a lack of effort or anything like that. And then as I've continued on, it's become less and less important, because we've picked it up as we've gone along and everything. But it's one of those things that I think kind of where this stems from is that I've never feared reprisal, especially here, letting professors or students know about my history or anything like that. I've never feared someone's going to treat me differently or act a certain way just because of what they think I've done, regardless of what I've actually done. There's some of those kind of knee-jerk reactions to some of that stuff, and whether they apply to me or not, but it's one of those places that is very veteran-friendly, and I have never worried about someone either positively or negatively treating me any differently just because of what I've done or what they think I've done.
Okay, great. Tony, what do you think?
So it's interesting you bring up writing papers. I could write a lot of stuff in the military. It's great, but they don't follow the same rules. So it's just a totally different thing. I forgot the question.
Do you want
I'm
your
getting at it.
classmates and professors to know that you served in the military?
Right.
Why or why not?
It depends. And a lot of the gen ed stuff, there's a lot of younger students, they're not too long out of, being at home with their parents, and I just kind of went, in those classes, I just wanted to get in, get done, and get out. So as far as aviation classes, the professors, most of them were veterans, so it was beneficial, we'll say beneficial, to have something you could connect with them on. And like everybody explained, if you give them a little bit of a heads up, they're willing to work with you. And that's one of the things I like about EKU as far as going to school here. The professors, overwhelming majority of them tended to, work with you whenever you had things going on. So, so that's my answer.
Okay. I think everyone here probably heard some pros or some, and some cons, and also that it depends on the situation. So let me now ask you to think about your colleagues, your other EKU veterans. We can all recognize them across campus. It doesn't matter what they're wearing, we just can recognize them. There are identifiable traits. With them in mind, what do you want your professors to know about student veterans? What do you want your professors to know about student veterans? And Stephanie, I'm going to put you on the spot. We're going to start.
I mean,
Knowing what you know about yourself, knowing what you know about your colleagues, knowing how we have had a much different life, what are some of the things you would want your professors to know?
well, the biggest thing, I mean, that I've ran across so far is that majority of the classes just coming out of high school and they think that I'm the same age as them, so at least my peers. And well, actually, even my professors that I've had, so just recently, just last week, questioned my age and thought that I was the same age as my peers. Most of my peers, which are 19. They could tell there's a sense of discipline, I guess maturity. So as far as what I would want them to know as me as a veteran, is that I guess I'm gonna be there. I'm not gonna be there to mess around. You know, it's not gonna be where, you know, I fail a class and come back and oh well, whatever, throw it off. You know, I'm there to get the job done because I don't have as much years that these younger kids have, that are there have. So I don't know. I just want to take it seriously.
Okay, good answer. Zach, let's go to you next. What is it that you would want your professors to know about student veterans?
First and foremost, that we're students. Just because we have a veteran title, we did some things different than what a lot of traditional college students do. You know, we kind of still have the same goals in mind. With that being said, we're all, the majority of veterans are very self-motivated and very driven individuals. And in this case, you know, some professors, depending on the case of course, try to drive home the fact that this is important or this needs to be done by speaking to everyone in a different manner or a different way. And with veterans, it's not necessary. I mean, we're here to do one thing, and that's to graduate or to complete our schooling. And not only are we, you know, in many cases older than our peers per se, but we're still coming from that learning, that fluid environment. Every branch of the military, there's always a curve, a learning curve, kind of like there is in college, where you're coming from high school straight to college. It's a different environment, but it's the same way leaving the military, coming to college. It's two different environments. They're very fast-moving, changing, and we're here to learn, and you know we're motivated to do so. We're not any different. We don't need special treatment, in my opinion.
Good, thanks, Zach. Tyler, how about you?
I think definitely with what Zach says that, you know, we're definitely here to accomplish a task, and we are typically more goal-oriented for one reason or another. We're trying to get degrees so we can get careers because we're already starting behind the 8 ball. In a lot of cases, we're 4, 5, 20 years behind people who are already out there. But at the same time, I think that it's important for them to understand that we're different people from each other. Not every veteran thinks the same way. Not every veteran believes or carries themselves in the same manner. There's some veterans choose to wear every piece of Army gear they've ever owned, and they have the hats and the backpacks and everything like that. Yeah, Marines do it too. They're notorious for it. They got pins on everything and patches and all that kind of stuff. But but there's also veterans that, without them telling you probably wouldn't have any idea. Besides, most of us have beards. If we can grow them, then we have them. But, I mean, you can't say, well, you know, I've had veterans in the past and they've been, you know, this type of way. You know, we have traits in common, but we don't all see the same, we don't have the same views on everything from, you know, religion to politics and anything like that. So you can't be like, well, you're a veteran, so you think this. And it very rarely is it something that is of concern, but at least in my case, we have very rarely run into anything where that's been a necessary conversation. But, you know, if you swing to more of a opinionated degree or anything like that, it's kind of got those things that, you know, no matter where we come from or anything like that, you could have guys who are in the same unit who went on the same deployments and did the same stuff and interpreted those two things completely differently. And so that's one of those big things that we don't, we're different from each other, we're different from other students. Every student is different from each other, but, you know, people like to try to group us, and it's not necessarily something that is accurate.
Great points. Tony?
So my experience here at EKU has been that I come off as very coarse. I think that's, like, we tend to be direct. We tend to get to the point. We don't have time for a whole lot of emotions, but that's because you did things in the military and you're always being challenged. You're always being challenged to do different things. You're always responding, and you have to respond quickly because things have to happen quickly. So I think overall, that has been my experience, is that sometimes I'm seen as a little too coarse. And I mean, other than the things that they talked about, I think that's the thing that sticks out for me. So.
And it could be easily interpreted in a different way by professors. I mean, you come from a lifestyle where direct saved time and was unambiguous, and that was the norm. So, great points in every case. The next question is an interesting one. And I encounter this probably two dozen times a week around campus and around Richmond, Kentucky. And it normally happens when I go into a store, pull out my wallet to pay for something, and somebody sees what's in my wallet. And they respond, "Thank you for your service." So my next question is, how does it make you feel when people say thank you for your service? And with this one, Tyler, let's start with you.
For me, it's kind of a mixed bag. For the most part, you know, in passing, anything like that, people find my military, they, you know, thank you for your service. It's at this point, it's almost one of those things. It's the same as thanks, hi, bye, that kind of thing. It's just one of those things that people say, whether they feel, you know, whether it's because they feel obligated to, or it's because it's just something that they've always done. Their parents told them that if you run into anybody who does those things, you know, first responders, anything like that, you thank them for what they do and everything like that. So for the most part, it's one of those things that I just kind of, it just rolls right off my back. I don't really pay too much attention to it. But there are people who choose to do that and then kind of want to get into it, want to kind of delve into, well, what did you do and all that kind of stuff. And that's where, for me, it becomes one of those things that, you know, I don't really want to get into the details simply because it's not what I'm doing anymore. It's not who I am. It's not, I'm not overly conversational in the first place. I don't share a whole lot of stuff about myself. So when people start digging into that kind of stuff, and for me, it doesn't necessarily bother me because I didn't deploy to combat. I didn't see any of those things that people see. But I don't want that to be like an accepted norm, to like dig into that kind of stuff, because just because I didn't doesn't mean the next veteran that they go to dig in on that doesn't have some horrible experience that they fight with every day, that they're just trying not to, you know, and then as soon as you bring it up, then, you know, it sends that twinge of pain or whatever it is. So that's where it kind of draws the line for me, is if it's just a nicety, then hi, bye, you know, thank you for your service, thanks, see you later, and then I go on about my day. But when people start wanting to get into the weeds on it, it's where it becomes a little frustrating. You know, it's not something that I really want to get into, just because most times I don't know you like that, and I don't really want to get into it with you. So.
Fair enough. Tony, how about you?
So, excuse me.
How does it make you feel?
Honestly, I don't know how to respond. I know how to respond to the question. That is my response. I don't know how to respond. Because when someone thanks you for something, do you say thank you? Because then that's confusing. And it doesn't work. Right. And if you say you're welcome, now you're being arrogant. I mean, how do you respond to it? So for me, I just smile and nod, and I'm like, okay. So let's get back to what we were doing. Remember, I said I'm direct, so I try to get back to what I'm doing and go on. So it also has something to do with the fact I was in the Air Force, I guess. We sent officers on stuff. So, that's the answer I have. It's hard to say you're welcome. It's hard to say thank you, and sometimes it seems kind of like rote, like it's just what people are going to say anyway. So there's times it's genuine and you can tell. But if I don't say thank you or you're welcome, don't be upset, because I don't know what to say.
All right. Zach, what do you think? How does it make you feel?
Well, I think in all of our cases, we feel some sense of, I want to say pride, whether that's the right word, whether it's not the right word. But it's an acknowledgement of something that we've done in the past that a lot of people don't do. But to Tyler's point, it's feeling as if it's an obligation. Whether it's a professor, whether it's someone if you ask for a military discount or a veteran discount, it's thank you for your service. It feels like they're almost forced to say that to you, and I don't, like Tony in this case, you don't know how to respond, and it doesn't really, you don't have to thank me for doing something that I chose to do. It's not like I was forced to do something. And then, like Tyler, I'm not going to sit there and talk about it with you. If you want to talk about it, you can go join yourself and figure out what it's all about. I'll just say, hang on, because it's one hell of a ride.
Stephanie, rescue these men. How do you feel about this?
I feel, very similar. It depends on the situation you're in, but sometimes it makes the situation awkward. So especially when they're talking to you and they're in the middle of like, oh, well, thank you for your service. And it's like, how do you continue the conversation without seeming rude, I guess? You don't want to say, like he was saying, arrogant by saying, oh, you're welcome. But at the same time, it's kind of like, you gotta, it's became a sense of norm, I guess, when you do say thank you, and it's kind of like, oh, thank you, whatever. You don't have as much meaning, I guess, by saying thank you either, because you hear it so much. Or you don't get the feeling that it's kind of, I don't want to say genuine, but they have a routine of saying it, because it might make them feel uncomfortable not to say it, so, it just, for the most part, if it's like at the end of our conversation and they say something like that, then it's like, I feel a sense of lightness to it, so it's like, it's more accepting. But if it's like during a conversation, or they're trying to spike a conversation, or it's how to continue a conversation after they say that, and you're kind of hanging, it's kind of awkward. So it doesn't feel, I'd rather not hear it than to hear it at the end of the conversation.
As you can see, a tough question, right? A very simple question. And when you think about it, most of the time people are trying to just be polite, and they're trying to acknowledge it. And many are very genuine. Some, perhaps, it's just a greeting of sorts. But I will say this, the older I get, the more I welcome it. And when you travel to other parts around the country, you don't always hear it. So I don't take it for granted. This is a special place on this campus, in this community, within central Kentucky. I think Fort Campbell and Fort Knox have a lot to do with that. BGAD has something to do with that, but as the years go by, I have found that my best response was, thank you. And I just leave it at that. And what I'm really saying is thanks for the acknowledgement, thanks for showing your appreciation, but thank you. Once I thought about saying, well, I just couldn't find another job. But I thought, well, that's probably not good. So on to a little deeper question here. What do you think is unique about your student experience at EKU? What do you think is unique about your experience at EKU? Now, who's going first? Stephanie, is it your turn?
I guess.
Zach?
Yeah.
All right, Zach.
Okay.
What do you think is unique about your student experience at EKU?
So what I brought from my background here to EKU, how I made that unique compared to other students?
Sure, you can take it that way.
Okay.
I mean, that's a good way to interpret it.
Yeah. Okay. I honestly, and it's a tough question. All right. So I'm 27 years old. I feel like compared to a lot of other students and even heck some professors, I feel like I've already experienced a lifetime more than what your typical student or typical person has already done. I've been to 7 different countries. I've traveled to 30 some odd states, and I'm here in Kentucky, 2 hours away from home, because I don't want to go really anywhere else at this point. But to say that something's unique here at EKU is,
Well, how does that experience make your time here at EKU different than that of other students?
oh, okay, oh, yeah, all right, but that's a little bit more simple now that I think about it. I know that in this environment, I'm here to complete the job for myself, not anyone else. This is something that I get to do for me. Compared to in the military, you kind of forget about yourself. It's all about the team, and it's no more, well, we got to do this for this person, or I finally get to work on myself here at EKU, and that's kind of how I feel it's unique. It's the first instance in a long time, 6 years, that I've actually been able to work on myself rather than a group of people.
Stephanie, what do you think? What do you think is unique about your student experience at EKU?
Well, first off, I have 3 kids and I'm married, so most students around me don't have kids and or are not married. So, for instance, that came up in my lab this past Friday, and they were like, "Kids!" I had to pick up my kids, and they were like, "What? You have kids?" And I was like, "Yeah, I have 3." They're like, "What in the world?" So they thought I was. Then they questioned my age, and then that's when the professor heard, and she also questioned my age and said I didn't look old enough to even be in the military. So, so I think being a parent and a spouse and a student at the same time is very unique from what most of my peers, because I mean most of them are just coming in right out of high school, so they're not in that stage of life, I guess. Another uniqueness for me would be that my mom is fighting stage 4 cancer right now, and I'm far from home. Sorry.
And you're part of a band of brothers and sisters. So as we've learned in the military, you have a home away from home. You always have a family. You have your family back home, but you have your new family, your colleagues, your comrades. And clearly that would make for a much different experience that you have than your colleagues, for sure. We get that. How about Tyler? Tyler, of course, is active in Greek life. So he's making the most of this experience that he missed out on in the early years.
So for me, I've made some deliberate choices to not make my experience as unique as some others. I came to college to get a degree, but I came to college so that I could go to college. My freshman year, I lived in a dorm that I didn't have to, just to say that I did it, just to see what it was like. I lived in the barracks, and it's a totally different animal. So
That's the real Creek Life?
yeah. So it was different, you know, and I made, like I said, I came down here and I knew a single person, so living in the dorms gave me a little bit, you know, community that I made friends with and everything like that kind of helped me reach out and get in touch with other people, which then led me to Greek Life, which is how I ended up where I am. But I definitely think that there are a lot of differences when I came here. For one, what I've learned since I've been here is that there are a lot of people who come to school because they think they're supposed to come to school, or their parents tell them that they're supposed to come to school, and then they come to school and their parents tell them what they're going to go to school for because their parents are paying for them to go to school. None of that applies. The government's paying for me to be here off a benefit that I earned while I was doing what I did, and so I got to study what I wanted to study. I changed my major halfway through my sophomore year, or no, junior year. Halfway through my junior year, I changed my major, and I didn't have to answer to anybody. I got to make that decision on my own, and I got to do what I wanted to do. So that helped greatly. And then it was also EKU's experience a little bit even more unique because as I've seen working for the office that I work for, and then you know on the other side is that you know I got to come in here and I talked to the office, I talked to Jamie, I talked to Deb, I talked to Cindy when she was over there, and Brian, everything like that, and I didn't have to go hunt down anything that I needed because I just went over there and talked to them or gave them a phone call or shot them an email, and I got my question answered. I got sent to the people that I needed to include, like I said, when I changed major, I was in a full flat spin. I was freaking out, and Jamie put me in contact with the people that I needed to get in contact with so that I was able to change my major without losing any time. I was still graduating on time. I still do all the things that I needed to do. And I think that for us, it's a consolidated resource. I think on the rest of campus, it takes a little bit more to find who you are because there's not always, your department doesn't always take care of everything, or your advisor, whoever it is, doesn't always have all the answers all the time, but having that kind of crutch to lean on, especially for the first little bit, and then as I've worked through the office, getting to help other people, that was definitely the most unique thing that I think I was afforded due to my military and how I chose to perceive the opportunity.
Good, thanks, Tyler. Tony, how about you? What do you think is unique about your student experience at EKU?
So I get to bring it home.
You get to bring it home.
All right, so my answer is actually twofold. The first part of my answer is Richmond. Richmond's a small enough town that you can get stuff and have friends and meet people and get help when you need it. But it's big enough you can still get to McDonald's and get a Walmart out of it, you know. So I think Richmond's a huge help. We bought property here. We wanted to be here, so it's been awesome. It's been awesome being able to be here. And the second part of it, and I don't get any money from that office anymore, but it's the Military and Veteran Affairs Office. I think that they're genuine enough that they care about how the vets are doing, and I think it's helpful. I think it's good for the vets. I think it's one of the reasons why I managed to get through. So, but Jamie and Brian, Steve Johnson's awesome, and Cindy, you left us, but I still remember you being there. So, but no, honestly, I think that is part of EKU that has made it a good time for me. So.
We have an alibi. We all know what that means.
So something I wanted to hit on, Tony and Tyler actually kind of reminded me of it. But, you know, as veterans, we have a very unique opportunity for future veterans to attend at EKU, specifically coming from the Office of Military and Veterans Affairs. You know, my role as being in the Vets Club, we can, you know, change the way things are going on. We can listen to other veterans and see, you know, what the next generation of veterans coming out of the service want to see when they come to college. Or we can try to change things that we have now to better suit veterans. I think we came out as number 11 this year in military time. 12?
12,
Compared to...
we think we should have been 11.
Yeah, I think we should have been number 1. But I mean,
We can go with that.
we're making improvements for that, and you know, with Jamie and Brian and Steve specifically, and what helps a lot is, you know, having Brian with the you know, his command experience, and kind of keeps that military structure within the office, so that as veterans working there, we kind of can stay somewhat in the environment, kind of like, but not in the environment, if that makes sense. That was
Good.
That was pretty much it.
Good. Well, I only asked you 5 questions, but there were some commonalities in some of the responses, but a lot of variety. And I want to go back to a point that Tyler made. The term veteran is a very loose term. It could be active duty, National Guard, reservist, retiree, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Coast Guard. And of course, each one of those service components, take the Army for example, has 17 different branches. So there's a lot of variety there. So you have to be careful when you group them all together in under one nice, neat umbrella and use the label veteran. At this time, what I'd like to do is open it up for questions from the audience. And you can ask the question in general, or in particular choose one of our vets up here. But any questions from anybody about anything we talked about or something related to being an EKU vet?
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
I feel like I was on my phone, but I was actually typing questions with a pencil. Zach, you mentioned that when you were in the military, you know, one of the things that you're used to is a fast-paced environment, and that's why you're so directed. You know, time is money, and you're trying to get things done directly and quickly. Do you feel like when you came to EKU that helped you being used to that fast-paced environment, or do you feel like it was a whole other ballgame when you came to college? Because college is fast-paced sometimes, but do you feel like it helped you prepare for that, or did you feel like it was like starting all over and learning a new fast-paced environment?
And so, the answer's going to be twofold. First off was trying to get acquainted to the VA system, because nothing happens fast. And then then it was moving into schoolwork and being self-motivated and driven. I think that's where I was trying to go at that point. Was you have to be a motivated individual to be in the service, and coming straight from that. I believe the service better prepared me for college than what high school did. Because unless like you're not a good test taker, you have some anxieties or something like that. High school is, you know, you're there to pass a test. In Ohio, you're there to pass the test so that they can give you a piece of paper that says you completed what's required of you. And then coming to college, it's on you. It's no one's there to make sure you're graduating anymore. It's all on yourself. It's nothing else.
Any of the other vets want to add to that?
I would love to add that. Shocker. I'm trying not to use profanity. So, I was frustrated. We'll say frustrated. I was going to say pissed, but I was frustrated. Because in the military, when you want something, when you need something, you go get it. I mean, you go there, and everyone is in the same mode that you're in. They want to push everything out of the way and get it done, and that's how they want to do it. They don't look for problems and issues, and that's one of the things that was tough for me, was seeing. I'm like, why are you putting problems and issues in the way? Just move them and get out of the way and just go. And it was frustrating at first. And Jamie helped me quite a bit on that. But yeah, so I mean it's like, get to work. Stop making excuses. Let's get done. But you know, that didn't change as much as I tried to say.
I think that it's when you come to to college from, especially where you come from, where some of us come from, or something like that, especially combat arms type of aspect. It's, you know, time is money, time is lives, time is everything. And so school is definitely fast-paced for the most part, but it's a different kind of fast-paced. What we perceive to be, what a lot of us perceive to be fast-paced is not what school is. I mean, some people are like, well, I've got, 4 assignments due, really soon. And to them, really soon is in 3 weeks. For some of us, really soon is tomorrow. And so it's one of those things that the way we perceive the timing and everything like that, plus you start to learn time management. So it takes somebody 3 weeks to write a 10-page paper because they write it for 5 minutes and then mess around and go play Xbox or do something like that, and then come back and write a couple more pages. But for a lot of us, it's you sit down and it's to write a 10-page paper and you write it in 2 hours with 15 sources and everything like that, because that's all we did. You just honed in and you just did what it was. So like for me, I've never felt that school was that fast-paced because there was always time to get it done. There was always time to get it done, and where I come from, that wasn't always the case. You'd have 15 tasks that were each took 2 hours to do, and you had 16 hours to do it, and that was what, to me, fast-paced is like. So for school, we perceive it differently as being fast-paced.
Good point. Good point. Ooh. I'm looking for another question. I have one.
I've got a comment or
Sure.
a question. We recognize that we were 12 as far as being ranked nationally and stuff. Just brainstorm or whatever, what's one thing that from each one of y'all we could do to increase our rankings, that we could do better as an office to serve veterans?
Well, it's kind of like how we spoke earlier, how Jason, for an example, has to go to the tutoring center in order to use a specific program
Good point.
on a computer. Well, here at AKU, we have EKU computers. Let's get that software from the tutoring center put on our computers so that, we can invite veterans to come to our office instead of going to the tutoring center or coming to the library where they're in an environment they really don't want to be in.
Good.
Okay, interesting
Yep.
point.
Good.
I haven't had enough experience here yet with this.
Oh, yeah?
I mean,
Okay.
I've heard, before I even came here, I heard, my husband looked it up actually, and I think that's how he acquired the information, but the veterans program here, was one of the top at the time that he had looked at it. So, he told me that they were number 1, so I don't know if you guys have ever been number 1, or if he's just telling it.
We were.
Okay, so he was like, they are number 1, so you gotta go there, you gotta go, see what it's all about and everything. So as far as getting involved in that and everything, but like I said, I haven't had enough experience to know what to say, well, this would help or this wouldn't.
Okay.
I think that, at its core for the most part, I think that the scale in which it's used, I mean, I haven't inside look because I've helped you
Right.
with those surveys and everything like that. I think some of the data that they ask for is inaccurate based off of the reality of what EKU is, and especially when it comes to these veteran programs. I mean, one thing that usually hurts us is like quote unquote retention, but it's because we have a lot of guards guys, guy in the National Guard and Reserve, so they get deployed and get pulled out of school, but because they don't come back, they're no longer, they weren't retained and everything like that. So, and I think, it's that, and that the other side of it is that no matter how good you push and everything like that, people always have something to complain about. There's always something that wasn't done fast enough. It wasn't done at the right time or with the right person, or they had to ask too many people for it or anything like that. I think sometimes, at the end of the day, if you're being honest with, when you're evaluating yourself and everything like that, some people just, no matter how much you take care of them and everything like that, it's not enough. So I think that has a lot to do with the VA as a organization kind of handcuffs us on a lot of stuff in order to try and promote ourselves and everything like that. So because we don't cut corners and we do it the right way, and sometimes it doesn't sit well with people who want things done faster than they can be done.
Other questions?
I have one.
Yes,
So I have,
Dr. Vance.
you know, a lot of our students will go on the guard to help pay for college, will leave for basic training, AIT, and then come back. And one just landed in Lexington yesterday, so I'm gonna help him get his, I know, I'm so excited. I'm gonna help him, he spent year and a half, 2 years here. And then he went into the guard, and so he's coming back in January. And so I know, I expect a lot of, growth and discipline. And so how do we help students that are coming fresh out of that kind of experience or in the Guard Reserves, make that disciplined, structured environment transition to, and in this case, I mean, even back to what he experienced before, and, just help make this transition smooth? And I know you weren't Guard Reserve, so you didn't go from basic training back to college, but just some of your experiences as a campus as a whole. But I mean, he's already in contact with the Veterans Office. I know that's the first thing I do for our veterans and our active. But what are other things that we can do in our environments on campus to
So
help?
my initial response is beer.
I think you'll like that.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
You just pull into the bar.
I don't even know if he's 21.
He's an Air Force guy.
Well, Tyler,
Beer.
you might not be 21, but you know, you're in the Greek class.
You have a connection.
That's the only answer I had. Go ahead.
I think that and then it kind of goes back to my other point is that every veteran has a different perception, and especially is true among the different flavors of veteran that there are. You got like Tony, who retired from the Air Force and all that kind of stuff. Me and Tony have a very interesting connection in that at the same time, we were in very similar places, living very different lives. Tony was sleeping in a hotel in, what was it, Dubai or something like that?
Close enough.
Yeah. So you're sleeping in a hotel, I was sleeping in the dirt in Djibouti, Africa. Same time frame, very different lives. They make jokes about different branches and everything like that. You have one of my favorite ones is that there are two branches of the military. There's the Army and the Navy. The Air Force is a business, and the Marine Corps is a cult. So
We don't count Coast Guard.
yeah. So it is definitely one of those things. When it comes to the National Guard, especially someone who went to school, then went to the Guard, then came back, I think they can, if they choose to, they can really improve themselves just based off of those time management and everything like that. A lot of colleges, you got to do it on your own, and EKU builds this kind of atmosphere of promoting whatever it is that you're trying to do. They want to help you out and everything like that. But at the end of the day, college is on you. Nobody's going to hold your hand and walk you through it. And despite what some people like to do, or what even faculty and staff try and provide for the students, at the end of the day, it's on them. If they don't want to do it, then they're not going to. But when you
know
leave,
that answer isn't one I can give.
yeah.
The end of the day, kids on you.
Yeah. But for them, they
Pat him on the
like
back.
yeah. For him, it's he knows what college is like, and whether he went there because he needed help paying for it, or he realized that okay, I'm missing something, and that's what I need to go do that to go get it fixed. Hopefully, the military can help me with time management or my discipline or my attitude in general. That's what sent me. I barely made it through high school. I was very rarely there, and I went to the military, and I come here and I don't miss class, and I don't, I work on my assignments and everything like that, and it transformed me. But as someone who was already in college, they went to the military for one reason or another, so coming back from that is, I think, one of those things where they know what they're getting themselves back into. It's not like despite what they tell you about the military, they don't brainwash you there that much. So when he came back, he didn't totally forget how college worked when he was gone. So just, the VA can be a stressful component of doing that, but he's already in contact with the office and everything like that, and I think that alleviates one of the major stressors of coming back from doing something like that, because those guys are told a whole mess of things that not all of them are true or accurate.
Exactly. Tyler,
Yeah.
all those young men and women that would come in and they'd say, I'm here, well, I'm ready, you know. And they think honestly that they are, that everything that they were told or that they had gone through set them up for success. And by walking in our office, they're ready to go to school. And there were so many times I was so proud of all of you and Jamie, of course, and Brian, because you had the patience. And the patience, I think you learned, because someone else I know has it too, to a point, you know, within your lives beforehand. So I always admired that because I'd look at these kids and I'd be like, oh my God. I mean, they really truly believed that all they had to do was stop and say hi and they'd be in class the next day. There were so many things that were kind of just hazed over. But that's the thing, that our office, I'm going to call it ours because it is a true gem here at EKU. It has so much to offer, and there's so many things we can do to help these kids not get, like, I'm not gonna go there, I really don't understand what I'm doing, there's just too much, but you guys always, you know, took the time to help them get on their way. It's not, a lot of times it wasn't tomorrow, it wasn't until the next semester, but at least we went through the channels and didn't turn them away, you know what I mean? It's like, no. You earned your benefit, thank you for using it because you deserve this.
I think that's, it's interesting you bring that up. That's something that happened in the military to all of us. I mean, we all know exactly, they all know what I'm talking about. They tell you when you're gonna get your teeth cleaned. They tell you what uniform you're gonna wear. They tell you everything, the whole deal.
Right.
And I think that's kind of a carryover from the military. Because I don't remember anything not kind of scripted. It's hard to explain. In the military, they always tell you when to get everything done, and there's no room for error. So
Their little heads look like there's fog all around them, you know, and you just want to just tell them, hey, it's going to be all right, you know, and they're scared, you know, and then they have to take a test, and I thought I was in, and you know, and it is. There's so much involved with today's veteran that comes back to school, you know.
And if there's one thing that I think that, especially for the student who's coming back to school, we see a lot with the Guard and reserves and everything like that, is they've got to do it on their own. They've got to be the ones that come in and talk to us because you get a lot of kids who leave high school, who go to the Guard, they come to school because they were told that it would pay for it and everything like that, but I only talk to their mom. And I can't tell their mom anything, their mom can't do anything. But mom likes to come in and mom likes to call me once a semester and make sure everything's taken care of. And that's one of those things that I see is like, you know, when you have these students who come back, is that it's on you. You know, we'll provide every assistance that we can, and that's what the office is there for. But at the end of the day, you took on a big burden, whether they realize it or not. They took on a huge responsibility when whatever branch they chose to join and whatever capacity they chose to join, it took on a huge responsibility that when push comes to shove and their name gets pulled up and, you know, their unit goes on deployment or whatever, mom's not going. Mom's not going on deployment. So it's, you know, if they can't handle taking on the responsibility of sending their paperwork or applying for the benefits or talking to their advisor and everything like that, they can't. If that's too much, then the worst of the worst is going to be far and above what they can handle. So I think that's one of those things that is important. We have no problem talking to parents, but we can only do so much with them.
Right.
Well, we have time for one more question, and Matt, I'll let you fire away with it.
Well, I work with Dr. Vance, and we interview gurus when we hire them, and my favorite question we ask the students is, what do they love about EKU? And so that's what I'd like to know. What do you all love about Eastern?
Well,
Generation.
yeah. I think we're trying to figure out who's going to go first. You had that moment of like, What I love about being at EKU is, for me, I've made it kind of my own experience and everything like that, and the people that have surrounded me, my friends, staff, everything like that, have made everything that I could need or want so much easier than it probably honestly should have been. My prime example is when I left the nurse program going to the paramedic program. Those are different colleges, those are different experience and everything like that. And I sat over the course of a couple days, due to Jamie's help and everything like that, I sat in the office of the director of both of those programs, who came to a concise decision that they would help me move from one to the other. The nursing program was like, yeah, we'll help you. They let me stay in classes that I technically should have been removed from due to co-requisites and everything like that, but if I did that, I'd owe the VA back like $15,000, and they said, no, we're not going to make you do that. We'll keep you here. We'll let you stay. Just keep going to class and everything like that. Paramedic program said, we'll comp you out of several classes. We'll keep you on track to graduate on time. And while I was in a complete flat spin and honestly losing my mind, all I got was just the most help and respect and direction and everything like that to put me on the right track and everything like that. And in a lot of places, those places could have been like, tough, figure it out, we'll see you later. If you want to leave the nursing program, we're not going to do you any favors. You want to come to us, cool, we got a paramedic program's a big deal around here, so make your way in. But instead, they took all sorts of steps to help me get to where I am. So that's my favorite thing about being at EKU.
I think I'd have to agree, maybe define it a little differently, but I like the idea that the university, like, everyone seems to know everybody. I'm not talking about the students, I'm talking about, like, if you need help somewhere, they're like, well, hey, I know somebody over here, and they call them, and they're like, the cordialities, but then they're like, okay, business gets done, and I think that that's what I like about it being a smaller university. In particular, just because it's a small university. There are some negative sides to that, which I'm sure we've all seen them, but as a whole, for a student, it's a help. It's a huge help, and that's what I like the best about it.
So going off what he was saying, as far as the small university, we're not a big university like UK, but we're known for, the nursing program, and that's one major reason why also too that I really pushed to go into it as well, because I keep hearing, about how elite this program is, and, everybody wants EKU nurses and how they're so in shortage right now. And I also really like that the professors too in those programs, or in this program, are really, they really strive to help you. They're not trying to weed you out. They're there because they know that we need nurses, and they're not, they're just really there motivated to help you get through it.
Thanks, Stephanie. Zach?
For me,
Last comment from you. Favorite aspect of EKU?
it's definitely the environment. It's kind of like what everyone up here said. It's a fairly large school compared to where I'm from, but it's one South Side. But it's small enough to where I can feel like it's home. I don't like traffic in Richmond. I think it's crazy, but it feels like it's home, and it's close to home to where if I want to go home, I can go home. I'm not, clear across the world doing something else. And then the safety program has presented opportunities for me that no other school could have ever done. No other school could have got Marathon to come here and interview students. I don't think as many safety as like for the job fair. The safety career fair wasn't even safety career fair, but that's basically what it was. There was like 9 or 10 employers looking for safety personnel there, and no other school could present that other here at EKU. And we are known for the safety program on top of the nursing program.
Well, I'd like to say thanks, first of all, to everybody for attending. Secondly, to OMVA, to EKU Libraries, and to the Knowles Studio, and especially to our EKU veterans. Thank you for sharing your insights and observations, and We're all looking forward to the day that you get that handshake and that diploma and you hold it up high and you're wearing your red, white, and blue cord. So at this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Jamie, and I know you'll wrap it up.
Okay, well, let's give all of our panelists a hand. So this concludes our Speaking from the Margins panel discussion for this evening. Thank you all so much for coming. This is a smaller crowd than what I was hoping for, but you all had such good questions and you really care about our student veterans. So it's really nice to see that turnout and to see the genuine interest in caring and knowing what our veteran culture is like here at EKU. We appreciate you taking the time tonight to spend with us, and we appreciate you guys for volunteering volunteering to share your experiences with us. We hope that you guys will stay a little bit longer. We have some refreshments in the back, so please take advantage of those, and we hope that you guys really enjoyed tonight, and thank you so much for coming.